Hello, my name is Keith. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over the CAGED system. In particular, we're going to be going over the sequencing of the CAGED system. So in particular, we're going to be identifying what fret you need to fret the next CAGED shape when you're running through it, because I know that could be kind of confusing when you're first starting to learn the CAGED system. So we're going to kind of remedy that, and I'll show you exactly how. So we're going to run through an example of the CAGED system, and just as a note here, CAGED system is just a sequence of inversions up the fretboard. Same note, different inversions, and we use the shapes identified within the CAGED system to go through it. Here's an example. We have a C chord right here. We have an A shape C chord. Then we have a G shape C chord, E shape, D shape, and then it goes full circle back around to the C shape, right? All C, all different inversions of that C chord. Now, when you're running through it, especially when you're starting out with the CAGED system, you might be confused as to where exactly you need to fret the next shape when you're going through it. So we'll hop down to the fretboard, and I'm going to give you one tip, and this tip is a pretty good little tip. There's one caveat to it, one exception to the rule, and I'll explain that exactly why. But let's go over the rule first. Now, the rule of this CAGED shape, if you're wanting to know what fret you start the next CAGED shape, you want to start it from the last fretted note of the previous CAGED shape. Now, let me go through that again. You want to start it with the last fretted note of the previous CAGED shape. The one exception at the end between the D and the C when it's starting back over. That's the one exception, and I'll show you exactly why. So here's the example. We're going to do this right now with the C shape. We have the C shape, C major chord right here. The last fretted note's on the 3rd fret, so we're going to start the A shape right there on the 3rd fret. The last fretted note there is on the 5th fret, so we're going to start the G shape on that 5th fret. And you can do the G shape right up here too. Last fretted note here is on the 8th fret, so we're going to do the E shape on the 8th fret. The last fretted note here is on the 10th fret, so we're going to start the D shape on the 10th fret. The last fretted note here is on the 13th fret, but since this is our D shape, we can't start it there on the 13th fret, because if we did, that'll be a C sharp, right? We don't want a C sharp, we want a C, so the C is going to be right there. Now here's where I explain why that's the case. So I like to call the C and the D shape CAGED shapes 2 for 1. It's a 2 for 1, and I'll show you exactly why. Let's take this G, right? We have an open G here. We have the E shaped G right here. And then we have the D shaped G right here. Then if we do the C shape, we're overlapping right there, but here's why. We take that C shape, and we look at the top 3 strings in the triad that we're fretting here. We're actually fretting these 3 down here in that shape, which is essentially that D shape. But when we're playing in that C shape, it looks like this, but if we're isolating it down to this triad, it looks like this, which in turn is that same D shape that you're playing right here. So the D and the C share the same exact triad on these top 3 strings. That's why they overlap. It's kind of a 2 for 1, like I say there. So that's the one exception. So I know that if I'm starting the D shape here, I want this root note, which is our G right here. This is our G root note. I want that to be the next shape. That's where we're going to plant our next shape. And then if you want to go on from here, the rule starts over again from that C. So we'll start on that last fretted note right here on that on the, what is this, the 10th fret, and this is our A shape. That's our A shaped G. So this is our G. C. So that's the rule. That's the little trick that I wanted to show everybody here. Now, I did put it up out in a short, and those YouTube shorts are ephemeral, just like everything else, and you might have missed it. And if you did, I got it right here in long form format for everybody to just reference if you need a reference to it. So I really hope that was in some way kind of helpful for you. And if you like what you saw here, please subscribe. You know the whole deal here. You know, I do this whole thing for fun, purely for fun, because I think that anything that is here on the fretboard shouldn't be a mystery. But again, it's just for fun. I'm doing this whole thing as a kind of, buffer between writing my EP, because I am writing an EP that I will share whenever I have it out. It's going to be mostly acoustic because that is where my bread and butter is. That's where I write all my songs. So I might throw in a little bit of this stuff too, but this just keeps me sharp with a lot of the electric stuff that I have going on here with me too. So again, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.